Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today, as you can see, is going to be my July wrap up, and it took me so long to get here and film this video for you guys. I swear I thought I lost all of these books. All the books that I read in July, I had packed in a very specific box.
And then I forgot the very specific box that I packed them in.
So I literally had to unpack like 6 different boxes. We're in the process of moving right now, and yeah, then I lost the thing for my ring light to like plug it into the wall so the light actually works. So I'm using the one from my record player. Then I didn't know where my lip product was, and I need to wear a lip product or I look like I have no lips. On the bright side, the one thing that I knew that I wanted to show you guys in this video are these beautiful earrings. And I know there's already going to be comments about where did I get them? Where did I get them? I got them from a local business here in Austin called Chiquita's Clay, and it is a woman-owned, Latinx-owned business. So I'm going to link her down below. She has a shop and her stuff is absolutely gorgeous and really, really greatly priced. If you are one of those who always comments on my earrings, that is where my earrings are from. Okay, are we ready to get into the books?
Not quite yet.
I do want to, before we get into the video, thank the sponsor of today's video, which is one of my very favorite companies to work with, and that is Dossier. So I have a couple perfumes to share with you guys from Dossier. I love working with them. They create really affordable perfumes that smell exactly like luxury fragrances that I know you go into Sephora and you smell and you're like, dang, I really want this, but I just can't afford it. Girl, I'm the same way, and Dossier has changed the game for me. So this is their little slogan right here: iconic scents, designer quality, no markups. And that is on period, because these scents that smell exactly like luxury fragrances are like $29 a piece. Are you kidding me? Sometimes these luxury scents can get up into the $200 and $300 range, which I think is just crazy. We should be able to smell good at a good price. So the ones that I have to show you guys today are, first we have Ambery Vanilla, and this one has notes of mandarin, pear, pink pepper, and licorice. And it is inspired by YSL Black Opium. When I tell you guys, it smells exactly like Black Opium. It is so good. So, so good. I cannot even tell you how good this is. It is so exact. So if you've been wanting Black Opium,
go and get this instead.
And the other one I want to unbox for you guys is Citrus Green Apple. This one is my mom's favorite. My mom also loves Dossier. Citrus Green Apple was inspired by Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue, which is such an iconic summer fragrance. I know my mom's going to be very excited that I have another one of these. I'll probably end up giving this one to her. And that's another thing that's great about Dossier. It is great for gifting. If you know a teacher that is going back to school, this would be a great gift. And like I always tell you guys, Dossier's fragrances are so, so good quality. They always last on my skin, and I always get compliments all throughout the day. Like even at the end of the day, I'll show up to happy hour after work and my friends are like,
why do you smell so good?
And I'm always telling them it's Dossier. I've convinced so many of my friends to place an order because they're just so good. There's nothing else to say about it. You guys know that I love them. So as always, I will be linking them down below. Don't forget to check them out after you watch this video. And thank you again to Dossier for sponsoring. Now let's go ahead and get into the books. First up, I want to go over my stats, as I always do. So I read 13 books in the month of July for a total of 3,938 pages. Here is the mood breakdown for the month. Pretty typical, although I don't usually have sad and hopeful in there, but we had a little bit of sad and hopeful books, but mostly dark, tense, and mysterious. My pacing was all over the place. I had about half of my books at a medium pace, 38% at a fast pace, and then 15%, which is 2 books, at a slow pace. I did end up reading one book that was over 500 pages this month. I read 3 below 300 pages, and the rest are all in that sweet spot between 300 and 500 pages. I did read one nonfiction book this month. It was a poetry collection, but the rest of them were all fiction. And here is my genre breakdown. I cannot remember the last time I had this many genres. I just had a very varied reading month, but of course we mostly read thriller, horror, and romance, my top 3 favorite genres. Out of all 13 reviews that I gave this month, there was an average rating of 3.88, which sounds really good, but I don't know why I just felt like I had a very blah reading month in July. I don't know, we'll get into it when we get into the books, but I had 1 2-star, 2 3-stars, 7 4-stars, a 4.5 star, and 2 5-star books. As for how I read these pages throughout the month, you can see I barely read anything the first 2 weeks of July. And then once we moved and I got settled and there was Summerween to look forward to, and I also was picking up some great book talk inspired books, I picked up my reading a lot at the end of the month. So that is it for stats. Now let's get into the reviews. As always, I'm going to start with my lowest rated book and work my way up to the best book of the month. So if you watched my Summerween vlogs, which if you didn't watch them, I will link them up above and down below. There's over an hour of vlog footage that I took during Summerween, and I was also moving during that time. So if you like moving vlogs and you like Summerween, go ahead and check that out. But you will know if you've already watched those what my worst book of the month is, and that's The Fear by Natasha Preston. Y'all, what did I think? What else did I think? Did I think I was gonna like this? I always hate Natasha Preston books. I don't know why I keep doing it to myself, but I do. So this was a 2-star book for me, but I told y'all in the vlog, like, the reason why I keep picking up from Natasha Preston is because her synopses sound so good. So this is a YA thriller that was about this social media inspired killer. And there was a social media trend going around this high school where you post your biggest fear, the worst way that you would never want to die. And then the killer is stalking this trend and picking off people one by one based on the worst fear, the way that they would never want to be killed. So I was excited for that, but in typical Natasha Preston fashion, the writing was not great. It was just very bland. Most of the focus was on the romance, and we did not get to see these fun slasher style kills that I was looking forward to. Everything just kind of focused on the aftermath of the deaths and following our main character as she was like a little investigative girl trying to figure out what's going on, which is all great and wonderful, but I wanted to see that cool concept that got teased on the back. So that didn't end up working out for me. It's a 2-star. If you want full thoughts, again, watch the vlog. And my second to last least favorite book of the month was also on my Summerween TBR, Boo. It was Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk, and I gave this book 3 stars. I think a lot of this book kind of just went over my head. The stories that I did enjoy, I enjoyed a lot, but a lot of them what even was it? So this is basically a short story collection, but they're all intertwined. All the stories are connected in some way. So we're following this group of people that are all on this Survivor type reality show, and we're kind of getting background on each character, and that's every single story. And then you flash back to this main storyline where people are getting picked off and dying, basically, and you're trying to figure out what's happening with them, who's going to survive, and what the end result will be while we get these little snippets, vignettes of these characters. Some of the stories were really funny and I got a kick out of. Some of them had great commentary. But like I said, for the most part, I don't know. Maybe this was too weird for me. The metaphors were a little bit too complex. I just thought it was doing a little bit too much. But there were things that I did connect with, so I just landed right in the middle at a 3-star. And the other 3-star book that I read in July, I actually have an entire dedicated reading vlog for. So I read The Summer I Died by Ryan C. Thomas on the 4th of July. I don't know why I did that, but I vlogged my 4th of July and I read this book. So if you missed it, again, I will link it above and below. But I did have a fun time reading this. This is an extreme horror and it is a slasher. So we're following these two dumb boys on a summer off from college, and they're just trying to, you know, live it up, get into shit, drink, meet some girls, have a little time. But they end up going into the forest and coming across a serial killer, and they're captured by him, and we follow their journey as they're tortured and fighting for survival. This is definitely extreme horror, so beware while going into this one. But for me, I don't think this was something as extreme as take Survivor, anything by Judith Sonnet, The Slob, anything like that. If you can handle that, you can definitely handle this. If you're looking for a slasher that has like typical horror movie summer fun vibes, that's not too deep, pick this one up. But there were some issues that I did have with this book, with the offensive nature of the writing, and I get it, it's not supposed to be that deep, it's an extreme horror, it's supposed to be offensive, but to me, I was struggling with where do I draw the line with this book, and there was also some like
pretentious incel vibes.
is the only way that I can describe the vibes that I got from this author. So I will leave you to take from that what you will, and if you want more in-depth thoughts, there's always the vlog. Next, let's go ahead and get into my 4-star books. The first 4-star book that I read this month was Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Kane, and I absolutely loved this book. My friend Ruth recommended this to me in our Pretty Girls live show for my Patreon book club, and she mentioned that if you are a big fan of Pretty Girls, then you will love Stillhouse Lake because it has the whole somebody close to me is a serial killer element. And there are also snuff film porn elements to this book as well as you get deeper into the story. And I'm so glad that I picked this one up because I ended up really liking it. I totally understand the connection to Pretty Girls, and it was the perfect summer read. Basically, we are following this single mom and her 2 kids as they are on the run from her ex-husband and their father, because they basically found out that he is a serial killer, and they're trying to escape the people who think that the mom and children were kind of in on his scheme and knew about his crimes. So they have to run away to this small, remote lakeside town where no one can find them and try to live the most normal life that they can as crazy people are hunting them that believe that they were in on the crimes, and also the ex-husband slash father might be hot on their trail as well. So there's just a lot of exciting things going on. This is actually a 6-book series, and I really enjoyed the setup in this book. It can definitely be read as a standalone, but I think this series is the way to go because there are just so many layers to these characters. It was so well done. And the lakeside setting just gave it the perfect vibes. So I ended up picking up the sequel, Kilman Creek, and I also rated this one 4 stars. It just takes the story to a whole other level, and obviously no spoilers, but we follow the journey of the 3 main characters, the mother and the children, as they are on the run still. And the reason why I didn't give these 2 books 5 stars is because they weren't hitting the way that something like Pretty Girls hit me emotionally. They were really nice, really fun reads, but there was something about them that just, the connection wasn't 100%, although I will say Kilman Creek was a lot more exciting action the entire time compared to the first book, Stillhouse Lake, which does have a little bit more setup. But either way, I highly recommend this series, and I plan on continuing it in August. I also rated I Am Not Your Final Girl by Claire C. Holland 4 stars this month. This is the one poetry collection that I was telling you about, and this is a really cool just format for poems. They are all based on a final girl. So each poem, the title is named after a final girl, and then it tells you the movie that the final girl is from. And the poem is about that final girl kind of taking her power back. They're all feminist horror poems, and I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. It was very enjoyable, and yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. If you are a horror girly and you're looking for feminist poetry, this is perfect for you. Next up, I want to talk about Tender is the Flesh. I absolutely loved this book. I also read it during Summerween, and this is kind of like a little bit of a dystopian,
apocalyptic vibes book.
Because we are following this society in which a pandemic took hold, where all these animals got this disease where if you eat the animal as a human, it's fatal to humans. Like, you literally die. So we couldn't eat the animals anymore, and the world had to turn to cannibalism to survive and get the proper nutrients that we needed. So eating human meat is just fully accepted in the society, and we follow this guy who is the head of a meat processing plant. Literally, human meat processing plant. Is horrifying, as he kind of grapples with the morals and the horror of this situation. And I really liked the depth of this book. The writing was fantastic, and the way that we dive into character background and family dynamics and just the morally gray scenario that's presented in the premise is so well done. The horror is presented in this cold and clinical way with this remove that just gives you this resigned feeling of,
this is it. This is all we have.
It's like a very inevitable, scary type of horror where you don't feel in it. Like, you feel very removed from it, but it makes you think about what you would do in this situation. It is very graphic. There's obviously a lot of animal abuse in this book, which is pretty graphic as well. There's a lot of gore, which I enjoyed, but the very end, I feel like it cut off really abruptly, and it went in a direction that I didn't love, so I had to knock off a star and give it a 4 out of 5. Next up, let's talk about The Violence by Delilah S. Dawson. This was my Patreon book club pick for the month of July, and I was really excited to get into it with my patrons, but y'all, we all struggled through this girl. It is over 500 pages long, and it was just too damn long. I kept saying in the Discord, I know multiple people were saying this, that this would have been a 5-star read had it been 100, 200 pages shorter. And it definitely could have been. This was just a very slow moving, meandering, character-driven story, and it turned into that about 50% of the way through. So the first 50% led you to believe that this was this really fast-paced, heart-pumping story. And then once you get to the halfway point, you start to lose your steam, and it did take me quite a while to get through this one. If it didn't have that, I would have really loved it because the premise was so interesting. So this is another pandemic book, but it's not about COVID. It's about the violence, which is a disease that is sweeping the nation. And when you catch the violence, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just go absolutely batshit with this crazy violence and you kill anyone in your path. So we are following this woman who's in an abusive marriage, and she uses the violence, or the illusion of the violence, to get herself out of her marriage. And she takes her kids and goes on the run, but you can't just, live your life because there are crazy people with the violence running around killing people, so they have to figure out a way to survive in this new world. There is some pretty good gore and violence in this book. It is categorized as horror, which I don't know if I 100% agree with that. I would say it's more literary horror, but just know that it is very, very character driven. And there are some parts that are a little bit weird, speculative, go off the rails a bit. But if you like all of that and you can handle a long book, I think you will really like this. The character dynamics are so interesting. The mental health rep is wonderful. And I just really loved everything about it except for the length. So those are kind of my thoughts. I can't wait to see if my rating will be affected at all by the live show. We're about to have the live show for this book this coming weekend, and I just can't wait to discuss it with my patron girlies. And the last 2 books that I read this month that I rated 4 stars are Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas, which is a pen pal bully romance. And Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which is a Greek mythology retelling of Achilles and Patroclus, and it is a romance as well. I read these two books because of Book Talk, and if y'all want to see my full thoughts, full reviews, and the emotional upheaval that I had while reading these two books, get ready for the vlog, because that will be out in just a few days. I just don't want to spoil the entire vlog by giving you my full thoughts right now, but you can look forward to that. Turn on notifications so you know exactly when I post it. I cannot wait for you guys to see this vlog because the Book Talk girlies did not disappoint. Next up, I did have a 4.5 star book this month, and this was a very highly requested book. Everyone in my comments has been asking me to read this and review it. Every time I talk about extreme horror, there's a comment that asks, have I read this book yet? And now I can say it that I have, and that is The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. This book was extremely well done, and I see why it is a standard in the extreme horror genre. We are following this little boy as he gets caught up in this very weird, morally horrible situation where he knows that the girl next door is being abused, and it is a very slippery slope where their friend group actually starts to join in on the abuse with the guardian who is keeping this girl in the basement. So it starts out very tense, and there's just this eerie feeling throughout the book where we know what's happening to this girl, but our main character is not directly involved, and it's such a slippery slope where this one adult, the guardian who is in charge of this abuse and in charge of this little girl, invites the neighborhood kids into participating into the abuse. And we get to see how our main character kind of gets indoctrinated and even participates in this abuse, and it is horrific. The torture that this poor little child endures is just unimaginable. There is some of the most graphic content that I've ever read in any book in this book, and it was not a fun slasher vibe. It was very sad. It really was not a fun book to read. It was gut churning, it was horrifying, but it did exactly what it needed to do, which was bring this horrifying, tense atmosphere to life. I have never been so filled with dread and horror while reading a book before, and having this intense horror be narrated by such a young, naive, immature boy just raised the stakes, because you can see the trauma that it's inflicting on our main character as well. And this book is actually based on a true crime case, and I went down an absolute rabbit hole learning about it because I could not believe that this actually happened. And I think it's great that Jack Ketchum is kind of drawing attention to this case through the fictionalization of this account. And it definitely doesn't feel like salacious true crime. It definitely feels like, you know, nothing about this is fun or funny. It is simply horror. The reason, though, that I could not give this book 5 out of 5 stars, even though I'm absolutely raving about it, is because it dragged just a little bit. There was a point where I tried to pick up this book like 3 times, and every single time I fell asleep. It was just dragging, and it was hard to just be in this one note tense sadness through the middle of the book. I just kept wanting something to happen in the plot, something to raise the stakes, to break the monotony of this just horrific torture. I wanted something a little bit more depth, and I feel like we got that for sure at the end. It just took a little while to get there. So maybe if it would have been a bit shorter, it would have taken the edge off a bit. So 4.5 out of 5 stars. Not my favorite extreme horror, but I definitely respect it. I get it. I understand why it is the pillar of the genre. And finally, we are into my top 2 books of July. These were my 2 5-star reads. The first one y'all have already heard about, and that is The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I also read this one during Summerween, and I absolutely loved it. If you're a fan of rich people drama, oh girl, do you need this. This is also a British thriller, so whether you like that or not, use it to inform your decision. I personally love British thrillers. So I was eating this up, like rich British people just like shading and being passive aggressive toward each other. That was everything that I needed, and that was what this book was serving me. So this whole book is told through media. So emails, texts, flyers, little things like that, social media posts. So it's really fast paced and easy to get through. It's just super easy to flip pages and read. And we are following the story of this theater troupe called the Fairway Players. And they're all these rich people who just literally put on plays for fun. Like, can you imagine having the time and money to just do that? And one of the most prominent families in the Fairway Players ends up having an appeal for money from the rest of the players and their community because their granddaughter has a very rare form of brain cancer, and they want to spend all this money. I think it's like $400,000 that they need to raise for this experimental form of chemo that they want to get from the United States. So they ask for money, but people in the community are doubtful that this treatment will work, that it's truly that expensive, and maybe if the granddaughter even has cancer at all. So when I tell you that there is so many twists and turns, so much rich people drama that you don't know who to trust at any point, I'm being for real. Like this, it was absolutely crazy. I never knew who was at fault. I never knew what was going on. I always had multiple theories, and it was just such a fun time. The characters in here are just that. They're absolute characters, and there are a lot of them, but I found them really characterized well where I could keep them separate and straight in my mind. So I was just in on the dynamics. I was like psychoanalyzing everybody. It was just such a fun time. So if you are looking for a whodunit kind of mystery with British rich people and high stakes, this is the one for you. And my favorite book of the month by far, which I haven't talked to you guys about at all yet, is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Also, can we just look at these covers? Like, do you think this had to play into my 5-star ratings at all? I don't know, but so weird that they're so similar. Every Summer After is a childhood friends to lovers second chance romance that will be in my Book Talk Made Me Read It vlog, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear me rave about this book. Just know the way I sobbed reading this book, it was so good. It was nothing like I expected, and I was honestly kind of doubtful if I was gonna like it or not, but thank God I listened to the TikTok girls. They sometimes let me down. With Credence, they really let me down. But with this one, oh my God, I am so thankful to the girls. So you're gonna have to wait for just a few days for my Book Talk reading vlog to come out to get my full thoughts. But just know, if you were thinking about getting this one, run out now. It's a 5-star. It's a favorite of the year. I'm obsessed. So that is everything that I read in July. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, give me a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And check out that link to Dossier down below. Get yourself some affordable luxury fragrances. And lastly, don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. I will see you guys in my next video.